Little People, Big World gave us years of family love, drama, and resilience. Fans around the globe watched Amy Roloff rebuild her life, marry Marek, and find happiness after heartbreak. But behind the cameras, shadows were growing. In today's video, we uncover a shocking story, one filled with betrayal, secret affairs, stolen fortunes, and ultimately, justice. Amy Roloff's house sell for $300,000. Marek and Amy Roloff officially separated. Marek cunningly stole Amy Roloff's saved $550,000 and secretly fled. And with the money, Marek goes to his secret girlfriend Jennifer. Marek has been secretly in a romantic relationship with Jennifer for the past 1 year. And finally, Marek arrest. Marek's jail for 6 months. This is not just another celebrity scandal. It's a story of trust broken, money stolen, and a shocking betrayal that rocked the Roloff legacy. It all began with Amy Roloff's decision to sell her charming home for $300,000. To her fans, it looked like a simple real estate move. After all, she and Marek had often spoken about downsizing and starting fresh. Amy, known for her big heart and careful planning, had saved for years. Her financial nest egg of $550,000 was meant for her future, retirement, family gatherings, and perhaps even a legacy for her children. But behind her cheerful smile, Marek had different plans. Unknown to Amy, Chris had been secretly communicating with a woman named Jennifer. Their affair had already stretched past a year, hidden beneath late-night phone calls, business meetings, and unexplained absences. The house sale wasn't just about a new chapter. It was the perfect cover. Chris now had access to large sums of Amy's money, and he knew exactly what to do next. On the surface, Amy Roloff and Marek looked like the perfect couple. Viewers saw them smiling at family dinners, enjoying weekend trips, and even hosting friends at their cozy home. But those closest to Amy began to notice subtle cracks, tiny warning signs that something was not quite right. Chris had grown distant. He was often distracted, his phone glued to his hand, and he would disappear for hours with vague excuses. At first, Amy brushed it off. After all, Chris had his real estate career, and she believed his absences were simply part of the job. But slowly, Amy began to feel a weight in her chest. Nights felt colder, conversations shorter. The man she had trusted after so much heartbreak seemed like he was slipping away. Friends noticed too. At one gathering, Amy's longtime friend Lisa whispered, "Amy, he doesn't look at you the way he used to." Amy laughed it off, but deep down, the words echoed. And then came the financial shift. Chris began insisting that he should manage the couple's savings. He argued that since he understood real estate and investments, he could grow Amy's nest egg into something larger. Trusting him, Amy reluctantly agreed. What she didn't know was that Chris had already begun funneling portions of her $550,000 into accounts she could not access, accounts linked not only to him, but to a woman she had never met. Her name was Jennifer. The affair had already been going on for a year, hidden in shadows and sealed with promises Chris never intended to keep to Amy. Every smile he gave Amy in public, every kiss on camera, it was all part of a mask. A mask hiding a betrayal that would soon erupt into one of the most shocking scandals of Amy Roloff's life. For over a year, Marek had been living a double life. To Amy Roloff, he was the caring husband, the supportive partner, and the man who promised her stability after years of heartbreak. But when he wasn't by Amy's side, he was with Jennifer. Jennifer was younger, vibrant, and knew exactly how to keep Chris hooked. Their romance began quietly, an innocent friendship that sparked during a real estate networking event. At first, their conversations seemed professional, but soon, late-night texts turned into secret meetings, and secret meetings turned into full-blown weekends together. Chris showered Jennifer with gifts, designer handbags, jewelry, and luxury dinners. But these weren't bought with his own earnings. Every single indulgence came from Amy's money. The $550,000 she had carefully saved over years was being drained, piece by piece, to fund a relationship she had no idea existed. Jennifer, knowing Chris' position, played her role carefully. She encouraged him to be independent, telling him he deserved more than living under Amy's financial shadow. She whispered promises of a new life together, a life built not on honesty, but on deceit. The two created elaborate lies. Chris told Amy he had client meetings in nearby cities, when in reality he was checking into luxury hotels with Jennifer. Amy, trusting, never suspected the truth. But Jennifer wasn't just a secret girlfriend. She was a partner in the scheme. She knew about Amy's savings, and she encouraged Chris to take more. Together, they plotted how to siphon the money without raising suspicion. By the time Amy began to question her husband's behavior, almost half of her nest egg was gone. Yet Chris continued smiling, continued lying, and continued holding Amy's hand in public as if nothing was wrong. But secrets have a way of slipping into the light. And soon, Amy would discover the storm that had been building behind her back. Amy Roloff had always trusted her instincts. Life had taught her resilience, and though she often gave people the benefit of the doubt, she knew when something wasn't right. With Chris, the doubts started as whispers in her mind, soft, ignorable, but soon they grew louder. At first, it was the phone calls. Chris would step outside late at night, lowering his voice, pacing back and forth on the porch. When Amy asked who it was, he'd smile casually and say, "Just a client, nothing important." But the calls never ended. Then there were the unexplained receipts. Amy found a hotel invoice tucked inside Chris's jacket pocket. 2 nights at a luxury resort out of town. She asked him about it, but Chris waved it off as business travel. Amy, uneasy but unwilling to spark conflict, let it slide. But deep down, her heart ached. She remembered how Matt Roloff had once made her feel unseen, and she couldn't shake the feeling that history was repeating itself. Her friends noticed too. Lissa, her closest confidant, pulled her aside after a family barbecue. "Amy, something's wrong. I've seen that look before. He's hiding something." Amy tried to brush it off, but her voice trembled when she replied, "I want to believe he loves me, but I don't know anymore." The breaking point came one afternoon when Amy went to transfer money from her savings account. She had carefully kept track of her finances for years, but what she saw made her hands tremble. Nearly $200,000 was missing. At first, she thought it was a mistake, a glitch. She even called the bank, hoping for reassurance. But the banker confirmed the funds had been withdrawn, legally, by Marek, who had been added as a joint account holder months earlier. Amy's chest tightened. Her mind raced. Where had the money gone? That night, Chris returned home with flowers, acting as if nothing had happened. But Amy could no longer ignore the truth. The man she trusted with her heart and her future wasn't just pulling away emotionally. He was pulling away financially too. And Amy Roloff was about to uncover a betrayal far deeper than she could have ever imagined. Amy Roloff could no longer silence the storm inside her. The missing money, the late-night calls, the strange receipts, all of it pointed to one thing: betrayal. She waited for Chris one evening, determined to confront him. When he walked in with his usual easy smile, Amy didn't greet him with a hug. Instead, she sat at the kitchen table with the bank statements spread out before her. "Chris," she said, her voice steady but cold, "where did this money go?" For a moment, Chris froze. His eyes darted to the papers, then back to Amy. He forced a chuckle. "What are you talking about? That's for investments. Opportunities I've been working on." Amy shook her head. "Don't lie to me. I called the bank. These weren't investments. You've been moving money, our money, into accounts I've never seen." "Why, Chris? Why would you do this?" Chris' mask slipped just for a second. His jaw tightened. "Amy, you wouldn't understand. I've been under pressure. I wanted to build something bigger for us. You don't need to worry. But Amy pressed harder. "Don't you dare gaslight me. Where's the money, Chris? Who is she?" The room fell silent. Chris's face went pale. Amy had spoken the words he hoped she would never say. Her intuition had been right all along. There was another woman. Chris finally exhaled, his shoulders sinking. He muttered the name almost under his breath, Jennifer. Amy felt her chest shatter. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was personal. The man she had opened her heart to after years of pain had not only stolen from her, but given her future away to another woman. Tears welled in her eyes, but her voice sharpened with resolve. "You took my love, my trust, and my savings and gave them to someone else. How could you, Chris, after everything?" Chris had no answer. He turned away, ashamed, but not enough to confess the full truth. Amy knew then that this was no longer about saving her marriage. It was about saving herself. And she silently vowed, Chris Marek would not get away with this. After the confrontation, Amy Roloff couldn't sleep. The name Jennifer rang in her ears like a cruel echo. Who was she? How long had this been going on? And where was Amy's money? Determined to find the truth, Amy began digging. She went through Chris's phone records, his credit card statements, and even the receipts he carelessly left behind. Piece by piece, the puzzle came together, revealing a picture more devastating than she ever imagined. There were charges for expensive dinners at five-star restaurants, jewelry purchases worth thousands, weekend stays at resorts along the Oregon coast, and each one linked back to Jennifer. Amy's hands shook as she flipped through the evidence. It wasn't just casual spending. Chris had built an entirely separate life with this woman, a life funded by Amy's $550,000 savings. Friends began whispering too. One admitted to seeing Chris in town holding hands with a brunette who wasn't Amy. Another recalled spotting him at a winery, laughing with Jennifer as if they were on a romantic getaway. The betrayal was no longer hidden. It was painted across every receipt, every hotel booking, every luxury purchase that Amy herself had unknowingly paid for. And Jennifer, she wasn't some innocent bystander. She was fully aware of where the money came from. She encouraged Chris to take what he deserved and promised him a new beginning, a life free from Amy's shadow. Amy sat in her living room one night, staring at the walls that once felt safe. Every smile Chris had given her now felt like a lie. Every plan for their future now looked like a trap. Her chest ached with heartbreak, but her resolve grew stronger. Chris had not only betrayed her love, he had stolen her legacy. And Amy Roloff, though heartbroken, was no stranger to fighting back. The world would soon know the truth. Amy Roloff had reached her breaking point. For weeks, she carried the weight of betrayal in silence, but now the truth could no longer stay hidden. Chris Marek's double life, his secret girlfriend, his stolen fortune, his lies, was about to unravel. It started small. Amy confided in her closest friend Lisa, showing her the receipts, the missing money, and the damning evidence of Jennifer. Lisa, furious on Amy's behalf, urged her to protect herself before everything disappeared. "You've got to expose him, Amy," Lisa said firmly. "He's taken too much already. Don't let him take more." Word began to spread quietly among family and friends. Matt Roloff, Amy's ex-husband, heard whispers through mutual connections. Even though their past was complicated, Matt felt a pang of sympathy. Amy didn't deserve this. Meanwhile, Chris continued his charade, dividing his time between Amy's home and Jennifer's arms. But cracks appeared quickly. His excuses grew sloppier. His phone buzzed with messages he forgot to hide. One evening, while Chris was in the shower, Amy saw a text flash across his phone screen. "Can't wait for our trip next week. Love you, Jennifer." Her blood boiled. It was undeniable. The next morning, Amy confronted Chris again, this time not in private despair, but with unshakable fury. She demanded answers, demanded the truth, demanded justice. Chris stammered, trying to weave excuses, but the walls were closing in. Amy made a decision that would change everything. She contacted her lawyer. With the financial records in hand, the betrayal documented, and Chris' reckless spending exposed, Amy began the process of separating not just emotionally, but legally and financially. And soon, what began as whispers among friends turned into headlines. Little People Big World star Amy Roloff's marriage crumbles in scandal. Chris Marek accused of stealing $550,000 from Amy Roloff. The public outrage was instant. Fans who had admired Chris' charm on screen were now shocked by the betrayal. Social media lit up with anger, heartbreak, and disbelief. Chris's double life, carefully crafted for over a year, had collapsed in a matter of days. And Jennifer? She could no longer stay in the shadows. Her name was out, her role undeniable, and the world began to demand answers. For Amy, this wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. This was about justice. And Chris Marek was running out of places to hide. The headlines were impossible to ignore. Within days, Chris Marek's name was splashed across tabloids, blogs, and social media threads. What was once a private betrayal had become a very public scandal. And when large sums of money are involved, it doesn't take long before the authorities start asking questions. Amy's lawyer wasted no time. With bank statements, transfer records, and receipts in hand, a formal complaint was filed. The documents revealed not only the missing $550,000, but also the lavish lifestyle Chris had shared with Jennifer, clear evidence of financial misconduct. The police opened an investigation. Detectives traced the flow of money through multiple accounts, some under Chris' name, others connected to Jennifer. Each transaction painted the same picture. Amy's savings had been siphoned away to fund a secret affair. Jennifer, once a hidden figure, was now thrust into the spotlight. Investigators questioned her role. Was she complicit or merely a bystander swept up in Chris' deception? The receipts told their own story. Her name appeared on hotel reservations, jewelry invoices, and even joint bank account activity. It was undeniable. She wasn't just aware, she was part of it. The public, once charmed by Chris and Amy's love story, turned on Chris with fury. Fans flooded his social media accounts with angry comments. Words like liar, thief, and betrayer filled every post. Jennifer's name, too, became a target of outrage. Meanwhile, Amy faced the storm with courage. Though devastated, she worked closely with investigators, determined not to let Chris escape accountability. Her heartbreak became a mission for justice, not just for herself,